Hi, I'm Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be my April TBR, and it's super exciting because not only am I going to play my TBR game, which, if I do say myself, is awesome, I'm also going to be participating in two readathons. So the first one is Realmathon, and I will include the announcement video link below by Covers with Cassidy. And I am in the Enya team, which is the fantasy team, which means that I'm going to be looking at having a fairly fantasy heavy TBR this month. However, there are also other ways to get points, and so I'll have to play with it because I do want to try and keep my books to around 8, and I do definitely want to play my TBR game. So I'm going to see if I can fit them in somehow. We shall see. The other one I'm going to be doing is Magical Readathon by Book Roast, and this is the spring equinox semester. And basically the way I'm going to do this one is I've decided that I'm going to go with the Moon Warden career, and I will link her video down below as well so that you can have a look at it, and she's got all the materials on there, so if you want to join along as well, you can have a look. And so as a Moon Warden, I'd be looking at having to complete 5 subjects. And so that's elemental studies, which is going to be botanic controls, flowers on the cover. I then need to do astronomy, which is the eclipse effect with 2 letter E's in the title. Then art of illusion, which is focus, disguise, self. So match clothes color to cover color. And then restoration is going to be oculi cures. So close your eyes, shuffle and point. And then spells and incantations is spell magical missiles, which is target length of 389 to 415 pages. So 2 of those are pretty easy because I can play with them a little bit. The others I'm going to try and fit into books that match my prompts for my TBR game. So it's going to be a tricky month. So without further ado, let's begin the rolls. This is my TBR board game. It's the same game board that I've been using all along, but I have rejazzed the cards to some extent. I've decided that they are going to be color coded. So as I move around the board, I will land on a specific color, and those colors correspond to the cards, and each color has a different themed prompt. So the silver cards are It's So Random. So this could include color wheels, picker wheels, Instagram scrolls, etc. Stats and authors will include things like longest book, shortest book, debut authors or loved authors, or publication details. Red is titles and prose, so that will be prompts to do with titles, example, one-word title, or also with regard to prose, it might include what type of perspective the book is written from, so first or third person perspective. Green cards are covers and formats, and this is going to be looking at the actual aesthetics of the cover, so the colors of the cover, particular items that are shown on the cover, but also formats like ebooks. Blue cards are genres, settings, and tropes. So these are the ones that are going to be looking at books set in particular places, particular tropes like reluctant heroes, and particular genres like science fiction or fantasy. Once again, I have my little Eeyore counter, and he starts on the bookworm game. As usual, I have 2 bookworm spots. If I land on those, I have to pull out the bookworm board game and pick a prompt from that. Having said that, though, there are also some silver cards that do include the bookworm game because it's pretty fun, and I wanted to give myself more chances of having to play the bookworm game. I will throw 2 dice just to make it a little bit more interesting to go around the board. Now, my favorite genres are fantasy and science fiction, hence the themes of the actual board. However, there will occasionally be prompts that refer to different genres. So I'm going to roll 8 times for a total of 8 books, and let's see what happens. So for the first roll, I've got 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's blue. So that's going to be genres, settings, and tropes. And I'm going to pick a random card. I'm just going to pick this one. Let's see what comes up. I've got witches, wizards, and warlocks. So that's going to be including any book that features any of those. So let's see what I can find. So for witches, wizards, and warlocks, I'm going to go with the Earthsea cycle. So I have read The Wizard of Earthsea, and I'm going to continue and read Tombs of Atuan. So this is, I'm not going to tell you what Tombs of Atuan is because you may not have read The Wizard of Earthsea, but it's pretty much set in an archipelago, and it follows a boy called Ged who decides he's going to train to be a magician. So he goes off to this magical school. There he then confronts a few threats and gets himself into a little bit of trouble, and the whole book is really about him having to try and confront that trouble. And it's a really cool coming of age story that really speaks to the power of language and names and good versus evil. I am so looking forward to reading this second book. It's also quite a short book. It's just under 200 pages. So it should be a nice one for readathons. So in terms of Realmathon, Tombs of Atuan will give me 1 point for having a map, 4 points for author using initials, 6 points for my ability to spell my name, Tash, on the cover. It's a YA book, which gives me 3 points. However, it is less than 200 pages, therefore I get 0 points for length, but it is a fantasy, so I get 10 points for reading within my genre. So that gives me a total of 24 points for a very short book. So I'm quite happy with that. The second roll is 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the bookworm game. Super, super exciting. Woohoo. Let's play the bookworm game. So bookworm game means I go to my bookworm dice game, and I don't necessarily use the dice from this, but I do use the prompt cards. So you can see the prompt cards are all different, and basically whichever one I pick, I have to pick a book that fits those particular prompts. Now to jazz this up, like in the past, I've basically allowed myself to pick any of the 3 prompts shown on the card. This time I'm actually going to throw a die, and if I get 1 or 2, I have to pick the first prompt. If I get 3 or 4, I have to pick the second prompt, and if I throw 5 or 6, I have to pick the third prompt. This does increase the difficulty and challenge, might make it quite interesting, but I do really enjoy trying to find books that fit these prompts. So I'm going to shuffle these cards, and let's see which card I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick this one. Right. So I've got something pink, things in hardware stores, and things in the Big Bang Theory. Okay, let's throw the dice to see what I get. And I got a 1, and that means I have to pick a book with something pink. So that could be a pink cover, or it could have the word pink in it, or it could be remind me of pink in some way. So let's see what I can find. Bookworm game, always exciting. I really enjoy it. And this time I'm going with something pink. So I'm going to go with Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. And I've wanted to read this for ages. So it's going to be a really, really fun one, I think. I think it's going to be fun. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this one for my 2-letter E's, because you've got the and then Chronicles. And so that's going to meet my astronomy course for Magical Readathon. So it works. So that's going to be this one. This one is actually a collection of short stories that kind of link up to form a full-length novel. And the synopsis is that written in the age of the atom, when America and Europe optimistically viewed the discovery of life on Mars as inevitable, Bradbury's closely interwoven tales of a brutal, stark and unforgiving Martian landscape are both astonishing and insightful. The Martian Chronicles tells the story of humanity's repeated attempts to colonize the red planet. The first men were few, most succumbed to a disease called the Great Loneliness when they saw their home planet dwindle to the size of a fist. Those few who survived found no welcome on Mars, but more rockets arrived from Earth and more people brought their old prejudices with them and their desires and fantasies and tainted dreams. This is a classic of the genre and I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's got pink, awesome. The Martian Chronicles is a multiple POV book, so that gives me 2 defense points. It's a new to me author, which gives me 5 points. I can spell my name on the cover for 6 points. It has a source of light on the cover for 6 points, and it's 305 pages, giving me 10 points. And all in all, this book will give me 29 points. Now, I did roll a double. So if I roll a double, I will include an extra roll. I know, yes, it's a new rule that I've put in just to jazz up the game and give a little bit more excitement. So I'm going to be choosing 9 books this month. Crazy. All right. Roll number 3 is 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's another genres, settings, and tropes. And that's Africa or Asia. So that's any book that is set in Africa or Asia or inspired by Africa or Asia. So let's have a look what I can find. For Africa or Asia, I'm going to pick an African-inspired fantasy novel by Evan Winter. And that's The Rage of Dragons, which is pretty exciting. I've been wanting to read this for quite some time. So the synopsis is a world caught in eternal war. One young man will become his people's only hope for survival. And it's described as Game of Thrones meets Gladiator in Evan Winter's The Rage of Dragons, a novel that started as a self-publishing sensation and has become one of the most acclaimed epic fantasy debuts of recent times. I'm loving that it is African inspired. It's supposed to have magic and dragons and demons and curses. It's about revenge and survival, and it's meant to be really action-packed. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun one. It will also give me quite a lot of points for Realmathon. It's going to give me 1 defense point for having a map. It's multi-POV for 2 points. It's a new to me author for 5 points. The title has an emotion in it for 5 points. It's 571 pages for 20 points, and it's a fantasy for 10 points. And this gives me a total of 43 points. And not so much for Magical Readathon, but I can fit that in somehow. The other thing is I am trying to complete the Buzzwords challenge for 2023, And the buzzword for April is emotions, and therefore rage fits into. So that meets that prompt as well. Roll number 4 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a red card. So that's titles and prose. And I'm just going to randomly pick one. Let's go with finish a series. Exciting stuff. I do want to finish series this year. So that's going to be a really good prompt to pick. So for finish a series, I didn't have a lot of options for finish a series because I think there's only 2 series where I only have 1 book left. And I'm clearly not going to pick a series where I have to read multiple books to complete my prompt. However, having said that, I've decided to pick an incredibly long book. And the reason for this is because I'm actually really dying to get to the rest of this story. I love the first one and I cannot wait. And it's Judas Unchained by Peter F. Hamilton. This is the sequel to Pandora's Star, which I really liked. It was a little bit long, but the story is so wonderful. The premise is so exciting. The characters are really well built. The world building is incredible. And I'm genuinely curious to see what happens next. So the premise of this particular series is that Earth has kind of expanded and you have this entire commonwealth of planets which are all linked by wormholes. However, one day they realize that a star way off in the future, way beyond the reach of their wormholes, just suddenly switches off. And the only way this could have happened is with technological assistance, which suggests that there is an intelligent species out in that part of the universe. So of course, humanity, being curious as they are, they decide that they're going to investigate and they build a spaceship to travel to this region of the universe to try and work out what's happening. And this becomes a really interesting, really exciting, a tad disturbing, and of course it's a first contact story. And it's got a mystery in it, sort of like a murder mystery type thing going on too. It's an epic space opera and it is just so incredible to read and I cannot wait to finish it. Now it is incredibly chunky. My version comes in at just under 1,200 pages. So it's going to be something. And yes, it's not fantasy. However, it does actually build up quite a lot of points for my Enya team. In any case, it has a dark cover, so it gives me 1 point for attack. It's also TBR vet. I've been meaning to read it for quite some time, so that's a -2 as well. Plays of time, because you do have a lot of travel over long distances of time through the universe. And there is all sorts of time jumps and weird things happening of time. So that will give me 4 points. There are a lot of isolated settings in this book. So that's 4 points. And it's 1,235 pages, which gives me 40 points. So even though it's a science fiction book, this is going to give me 51 points for Enya. So I think I'm just going to go with this one and then I can finish off a series and be super happy because this is one of my priority series to complete this year. Roll number 5 is 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another blue. I'm getting a lot of genres, settings, and tropes. So that's like, ooh. All right, let's pick this one. A non-fiction. Exciting stuff. Non-fiction. That didn't quite work for my Realmathon, but I'm going to pick this tiny little book, and this is Quantum Theory Cannot Hurt You by Marcus Chown. It is pretty skinny. It's about 200 pages and it's about quantum physics, which I love. I absolutely love quantum physics. I love reading these books And I think this is going to be a really fun one that I've been meaning to read for quite some time. The synopsis for this one is the entire human race could fit into the volume of a sugar cube. You age faster at the top of a building than at the bottom, and every breath you take contains an atom breathed out by Marilyn Monroe. All of these are true, but how? Two brilliant ideas, quantum theory and Einstein's general theory of relativity, hold the key. Marcus Chown, physicist, broadcaster, and consultant for New Scientists, gives us a fascinating, accessible, and witty introduction to these two theories that underpin all of modern physics. It's a book you can read in a few hours, but which will leave you excited about science for years to come. So that sounds like it's going to be a really good one for Realmathon because it is quite short too, and it could be a good one for Peace Talks. Gives me 5 defense points for new to me author. It has a title with an emotion, so that's 5 points. I can spell my name in the title for 6 points, and it's 224 pages for 10 points. Unfortunately, it is non-fiction, so I cannot get any bonus points for that, but it still gives me 26 points for a fairly short book. And roll number 6 is 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's green. So that's looking at covers and formats. Let's see which one I'm going to pick. Green's probably one of my favorites. It's super, super exciting. Text or pattern. So that's any book that doesn't necessarily have illustrations on the cover. It's predominantly text or patterns. So that could be an interesting one to have a look at. Text or pattern. I had that last month. But anyway, I have very few options for this one. And once again, I'm going to have to pick a book that's not fantasy, but still gives me lots of points for Realmathon. And this is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This is Agatha Christie meets Knives Out in a fiendishly clever blend of classic and modern murder mystery. I was dreading the Cunningham family reunion even before the first murder, before the storm stranded us at the mountain resort, snow and bodies piling up. The thing is, us Cunninghams don't really get along. We've only got one thing in common. We've all killed someone. So this is a closed house kind of murder mystery, dysfunctional family, and it sounds really, really fun, and it meets a lot of the prompts for Realmathon. It's a 2022 release, which gives me 2 attack points. It's a dysfunctional family for 5 points. It's a word related to another realm, hence the word killed. Does refer to sanctum, so that gives me 6 points, and it's 366 pages, which gives me 10 points. So all in all, that gives me 23 points, and I think it's going to be a fun read. I've been meaning to read this for quite some time. Roll number 7 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a gold. So that's stats and authors. Let's see what I'm going to pick for this. Let's pick this one, a female author. Okay, that should be pretty cool. Let's see what I can find. Female author, I'm going to go with Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su-Lin Tan. Now this one gives me an astronomical number of points for Realmathon. I'm going to be reading it on ebook for 1 point. It's a retelling for +4 points. It's a new to me author for +5 points. I can spell my name in the title for +6 points. It has a source of light on the cover for +6 points. It's 512 pages, which gives me 20 points. And it's a fantasy for 10 points. And that gives me a total of 52 points. And it also has flowers on the cover. So that's going to meet my magical readathon prompt for elemental studies, which is super exciting. So far, so good. This one I've been meaning to read for ages. I have this one on ebook, and it's a captivating debut fantasy inspired by the legend of Shangyi, the Chinese moon goddess, in which a young woman's quest to free her mother pits her against the most powerful immortal in the realm. So growing up on the moon, Xingyin is accustomed to solitude, unaware that she's being hidden from the feared celestial emperor who exiled her mother for stealing his elixir of immortality. But when Xingyin's magic flares and her existence is discovered, she's forced to flee her home, leaving her mother behind. Alone, powerless, and afraid, she makes her way to the Celestial Kingdom, a land of wonder and secrets. Disguising her identity, she seizes an opportunity to learn alongside the Emperor's son, mastering archery and magic, even as passion flames between her and the prince. This has so much in it. It's a retelling. I'm so excited, and it meets so many points. It gives me so many points and meets all my prompts. I'm really looking forward to this one. I've been meaning to put this on my TBR for so long. Roll number 8 is a 3. 1, 2, 3. That gives me, it's silver. So it's so random. All right. So these should be pretty fun. I hope. Let's see. I'm going to get random letter. So that means I need to pick a random letter generator, and I have to pick a book that starts with that letter. So let's give this a go. So for random letter, I got the letter D. And for this one, I'm going to pick another book on my Kindle. And this is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Once again, a fantasy book, so good for Realmathon. I'm going to be reading on ebook, so that gives me a 1 defense point. The author uses initials for 4 points. It's 401 pages, which gives me 20 points. And it's a fantasy, which gives me 10 points. Therefore, I'm going to achieve 35 points for this book. More than that, it sits at 401 pages, which means I can use it towards my spells and incantations course for Magical Readathon, which is super exciting. And I've been wanting to read this for quite some time. This one, the synopsis says, most people only know one London, but what if there were several? Cal is one of the last travellers, magicians with a rare ability to travel between parallel Londons. There's Grey London, dirty and crowded and without magic, home to the Mad King George III. There's Red London, where life and magic are revered. Then White London, ruled by whoever has murdered their way to the throne. But once upon a time, there was a Black London. It sounds like a really cool urban fantasy with heaps of magic and sounds quite unique. So I'm looking forward to getting on with this series. And the final roll is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's another gold, which is stats and authors. And let's pick this one, an author with initial. So that means that the author uses an initial in their name. So let's see what I can find for that one. And for author with initial, I'm going to go for another Kindle book, and this will be The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu. And this, I believe, is another really cool urban fantasy. And the premise is that when Roper dropped out of school to become a ghost walker, she now speaks to Edinburgh's dead, carrying messages to the living. A girl's got to earn a living, and it seems harmless enough. Until that is the dead whisper that someone's bewitching children, leaving them husks, empty of joy and life. It's on Roper's patch, so she feels honor bound to investigate. But what she learns will change her world. I've had some mixed reviews from this one. I've heard that some people haven't liked the subsequent book, but I'm really excited about this because urban fantasy is one of my favorite subgenres of all time. It's also going to give me a lot of points for Realmathon. Gives me 1 defense point for ebook. It is an underrated book for 3 points. The author uses initials for 4 points. It's a new to me author for 5 points. It is a fantasy, which gives me 10 points, and it's 303 pages, which gives me 10 points, totaling 33 points. And that's it. That gives me 9 books for the month of April. I have enough books, I think, for Realmathon, and the only thing I have left really are 2 additional prompts for my Moon Warden career in Magical Readathon. And the first one is Art of Illusion, which is match your clothes color to the cover color. Wait a second, I'm wearing brown. You know which book is going to fit for this? Look, Rage of Dragons. I can fit it in, yay. So that's going to fulfill that prompt. So that's 1 down. So I only have 1 left. And the final one is Restoration. And that's close your eyes, shuffle, and point. Now for this one, I have decided to pick 8 short novellas or graphic novels that I'm hoping to maybe pick up over Peace Talks for Realmathon. And so I've decided that I'm going to just randomly pick one by pointing, and then that will fulfill my Magical Readathon prompt as well. So I have written the titles of the books on the flip side of these pieces of paper, and I've pasted them to my clipboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin it around and do like random things. I mean, I just randomly place them on anyway. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a pencil and I'm just going to randomly point, and I'm going to go that one. What's that one? I don't know. I'm in the middle. Okay, well that doesn't work, does it? Maybe I should just pull one. All right. So blah, 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 blah. Okay, I think, you see those lines on that one? I'm going to pick this one. And this one is A Prelude to Ashes by Tiago Abdallah. So that, I think, is the prequel to A Touch of Light. What's awesome about Prelude to Ashes as well is that A Touch of Light is a host favorite, which means any book in the series can accrue extra points. Very exciting. And that fulfills my Moon Warden career as well. So that gives me 10 books, but a couple of them are short, so it's doable, right? And that's it. So thank you so much for watching. I shall let you know how this TBR is going to go. And until I see you next time, take care.